Hey, Arman here. Welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show, where we cover training, nutrition, supplementation strategies, and a whole lot more. So stand by. Hey, and welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Arman Eckelbarger.
Hey, I'm Frank Mills. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a great show for you. What we're going to be talking about today is why it's important to eat less carbs and more protein as we age. So I'm excited to hear about that information. And also, we've got your fan questions and topics that you send in to us. And that's my favorite part of the show. So we'll be talking about that as well. All right, so let's get started. Arman, interesting topic. Exactly where did you come up with this one?
All right. Well, I've been doing a lot of research regarding insulin resistance because we've talked about it before in other shows. And so as I'm
Hmm.
listening to these different experts, because there's always, some debate back and forth, this kind of came up as I was listening to these different experts. And I think it just makes absolute sense to me that this is a reality.
And so why do you say that?
Okay, well, okay, in my opinion and experience, most people, and you can see it happen. They seem to put on weight a lot easier as they get older or as they're
Hmm.
aging, and this typically happens late 30s, early 40s. Because I run into it all the time as I'm talking to prospects and clients about what they call unexplained weight gain. And in
Right,
their
right.
mind, they haven't changed anything with their schedule, their diet, it's all been the same. But all of a sudden now they're continuing to add more weight, so much per year, year after year. And that's been kind of the case that I've seen, and also what I ran into just talking to
Hmm. Interesting. So where do you want to start? Eating carbohydrates?
people. Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Okay. I mean, since I mentioned this resistance, which is a big part of weight and body fat gain, I think it would make sense to start there. So,
Well, I know we've spoken about insulin resistance in the past.
yeah.
Do you think we should go over that again?
Yeah, just let's make sure we're kind of keeping things clear on that for people that, if they're not up to speed on it, it just makes sense because I think the more they know about that, then the more they can connect with what they need to be aware of. So, in a
Hmm.
nutshell, insulin resistance is a condition in which the body's cells become less responsive to the effects of insulin. So, makes sense. It's pretty self-explanatory, but insulin's a hormone. It's produced by the pancreas. So, it plays a crucial role, the insulin does, in regulating your blood sugar and keeping those levels to manage the glucose so it goes into the bloodstream, into the cells properly. And that way it can be used as a source of energy, or if the muscles and liver are already full, it's going to be stored as fat, unfortunately.
Hmm.
So, in a normal functioning body, insulin binds to specific receptor sites, and there are receptor sites in every single cell that insulin will be effective. So it does have a broad effect. Okay,
Hmm.
so when it gets on the surface of the cells, then it triggers a series of signals that allow glucose to enter the cells with to get that energy in there if they need it. However, in insulin resistance, the cells become less sensitive to the action of insulin, and as a result, the body produces more insulin, and that's a big issue. To help compensate for the decreased sensitivity. So when that happens, then this is going to lead to obviously higher than normal insulin in the bloodstream, and this is where the condition comes in called hyperinsulinemia. And so, which basically, when that happens, you're becoming pre-diabetic, and then you'll lead to full-blown diabetes if you don't address the issue. So
Hmm.
that's one of the big things with insulin resistance.
So, um, okay, I think that was good to go over that information, but is this why that, is this why people should be cutting back on all carbs or just refined?
Okay, so what's going on over time is that people are losing muscle mass as they age. So that's the thing that's happening here. Unless they're doing, a lot of resistance training and to maintain or build muscle, then obviously you can have more carbohydrate intake or have normal carbohydrate intake and not see a lot of change. And so that's why you see people that are pretty healthy as far as lean, they're burning up the glucose. Now, if they're not burning off the glucose, then they're taking it, they're going to basically take it through the activity, they're burning it through the activity. But again, this means reducing carb intake either way. So the lost muscle mass is the problem, okay? Because it provides less room to store more carbohydrates or to store the carbs. And so you have less room to store them because of that lost muscle mass. All right, so this is going to cause more issues for the cells to be able to absorb the glucose, and so that it ends up putting into the fat cells for storage. So the process of muscle loss is what also slows down the overall metabolism. Okay, because you have more muscle, you have a higher metabolism because of it, and so this is going to affect the energy levels and other bodily processes. So refined carbs, okay, which the refined carbs, again, have ultra refined carbs and you have refined carbs. Okay, so the ultra refined processed carbs just make it worse because there is no fiber, there's no nutritional value, there's nothing there except it's going to be converted from the insulin pretty quickly because of the way it's designed. So either put it in the muscles and liver, or if they're already full, because it needs to be absorbed, it tends to be absorbed a lot quicker, it's going to store it as fat. So with that being said, even with the issue of refined, ultra refined carbs, even if you have just the regular starchy carbs like rice, potatoes, pasta, breads, etc., they still require insulin to convert it to glucose. And so it doesn't matter as well if it's refined or normal carbs, because your body needs to put it somewhere and it can't do it. And so the insulin's got to be up there to figure out how to do it. So it's a combination of both things. So but the first step would be get rid of ultra processed carbs, because there's no fiber, there's no energy, there's no real nutrients that come in it.
Interesting. Well, to me, that all makes sense. Now, why is there a need for more protein?
Okay, so the part of that is as we age, all right, there's some key factors contributing to the increased protein requirements. But and this is typically for people 40 years and older. There can always be exceptions, but some people are going to say, well, it doesn't really become an issue until you get really old, and which could be, the definition of really old could be 60, which I'm going to be 60 and soon, but 60 and over. But it starts, the late 30s, early 40s from what I'm seeing. So, that's the issue. So when your muscle mass is affected, okay, through this aging process, no matter what we do, we're going to eventually start to lose some muscle size. That's just how it works, right? And part of that is due to declining hormone levels, which, there's plenty of science that confirms that. And so when that happens, your strength's going to decline, and then that's when you're more subject to long-term having to deal with this sarcopenia, which is muscle wasting. So adequate protein intake is what's needed combined with physical activity. This becomes more important, especially for older adults, so that they can preserve and build or maintain their muscle tissue. Okay, so that's why you need the more protein. Protein provides the necessary amino acids for muscle to give you protein synthesis and repair. Your body has a lot of turnover daily to use the protein. So with this, you run into an issue of protein, the decreased utilization of it, basically because the body's efficiency to use dietary protein for building and maintaining tissues. So it starts to lose that capacity. So this means older adults, are going to require more just because to compensate for the decreased utilization and just make sure they get enough of the nutritional needs. And so that's a really important element, because, if you don't get enough, that's going to continue to cause issues as far as the aging process. Now, with that being said, you have increased protein breakdown. So, typically older adults, they're going to experience that phenomenon. And so that further highlights the importance of consuming sufficient protein to counterbalance the process, so that you're not having the issue of increased protein breakdown. So higher protein intakes can help offset that, and that's just providing the necessary amino acids for the bodies to do protein synthesis and to minimize muscle loss. Because if you don't get enough protein, the body doesn't get enough carbohydrates and fats, it's going to break down muscle to create energy, which breaks it down into amino acids. So that's how you lose the muscle, by not having enough of the other nutrients as well. And that's just if everything's working fine. So, what can also happen to somebody that's older, they start having, their appetite is not as strong. And part of that just has to do with the issue that they don't absorb their nutrients as well, because their digestive system is getting older, and it's not as robust as it was when you were younger. So when that happens, they're going to have the decrease in appetite, but also it's going to have a bunch of issues with breaking down the protein and absorbing it as well. And that's what we talk about, doing the digestive enzymes to help make sure that if you are having protein, especially a denser protein like red meat or pork or something like that, these enzymes can help make sure it gets broken down properly and gets absorbed. So that's one of the reasons why we have the digestive enzymes as in a supplement as well. And then I'm kind of dragging on here, but then you have the health and recovery aspect of it. Okay, so as you get older, you need additional protein to make sure that if you get injured, you get like COVID or something, you go in the hospital and you have a surgery, you're inactive. And when you're inactive, that's when you can start losing a lot of muscle loss, especially if you're not eating or you're not getting the right amount of nutrients like you need to. And this is what happens to a lot of people in hospitals. For example, with me, I had an appendectomy, and because of the complications of my appendectomy, and I couldn't eat, so they had to, just pump my stomach and give me a tube. I lost 20 pounds.
Wow.
And, losing 20 pounds, it was like 40 something. Losing 20 pounds, actually, like, 52, I think it was. Yeah. That was like, wow. And so now I got to put this weight back on just to get back to where I was. So again, that's another reason why, if you're not getting the proper amount of protein and this happens, that's what the issue is. So people just don't think about these things, and who would? I mean, because you're not expecting them to happen. But that's another component to all this.
Well, that was a lot of really good and detailed information in a lot of different areas, Arman. So, I mean, you obviously know your stuff, right? I mean, you're really digging into this, but
Well, it's
I was
important to me,
curious,
yeah.
you're right. Is there a maximum of carb and protein intake that is based on this?
All right, so you're going to have some different experts and opinions. So this is kind of kind of an open debate or two. But at the end of the day, the different experts that I've been listening to, like the one they suggest no more than 130 grams of protein, or not protein, but carbohydrates per day as the max, just on a
Okay.
regular basis. Because what they found is if you keep your carbohydrate intake under 130 grams a day, which most Americans are having 300 or more grams per day. If you keep it under that, then you don't get the triglyceride buildup, and then your triglycerides stay more stable, and then your insulin sensitivity tends to stay really consistent. So that was one statement. Again, you can take with it what you want. So if you're younger, you can get away with more, but as you're aging, I wouldn't be going over 130 grams. A lot of people they probably even register with them like how many that is. And it doesn't take a lot to get 130 grams of carbohydrates. All right. So that was one. And again, if you eat less, which I strongly suggest, you're going to put on less body fat because you're being more efficient. But anyways, for that. And then when it comes to protein, there's a lot of debate. So 1 gram of high quality protein. Again, we're not talking about plant proteins and everything. We're talking about high quality, full essential amino acid type proteins like meat. Okay. They're recommending 1 gram per pound of body weight as a good guideline. Now, what you see in the food pyramid and what the government recommends, that's just for maintenance. That's just your bare minimum, which is 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. So that's just a bare minimum to be functioning. So this combination should help maintain good energy levels, and then minimize sarcopenia to keep muscle and the bone strong enough to reduce the chances of frailty, which is what ends up happening over a long period of time, but not getting enough protein as you continue to age.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a lot of frailty out there, people that can't hardly move. They need to use a wheelchair. They need to use one of the devices at the grocery stores that go shop, sit in a little, what do you call those things? Little motor chairs. I can't remember what they call them.
Yeah.
But you're seeing a lot of that with older people because they're not strong enough, or don't have enough muscle in their mind anyways, to get around.
Right. The one thing I was going to ask you also is when intake of protein, a lot of people, and the stigma is out there, is not to have any carbs. Like carbs are bad, just as bad as sugar, and you can't have carbs. And I know that we've done shows on this, but there's a lot of good carbs that you can have. It's just you're a little bit more strategic with your carb cycling program than not having any at all, right?
Well, you need carbs to, again, replenish the muscles and the liver, okay, for stability, but also the carbohydrates, again, which is basically vegetables, quality vegetables, and then some fruits. You get those nutrients which help the gut microbiome. So if you just have protein all the time, you're going to be missing those nutrients. And is that super beneficial for you? So there'd be another hot debate. But I think it makes sense to use all, real food into your nutrition program. But depending if you're an athlete and you're already lean, you can just eat. Okay, just make sure it's all real food if you're already lean. But most people are on a struggle bus with how to get lean and how to get rid of the body fat. So that's why I suggest a carb cycling strategy for those strategies, because it works well. So and you don't have to give up a lot of foods. You can use them.
And that's the best part, right? You can eat the things that you want. Just timing is everything, right?
Yeah, so not have to regret it or feeling bad because you ate something that you think you shouldn't have ate. I mean, just have some strategy behind it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, we're running out of time here on this segment. Any final thoughts, Arman?
Okay. So I would definitely, take this pretty seriously because you want to keep your health and physique in optimal levels. Getting your nutrition right is going to help. That's so much easier. It's going to help slow down aging. Once you slow down aging, you slow down disease. This is going to help you in so many different ways. And so pay attention to what you're doing and learn from it. And then this way, if for any reason you become sick and have issues, you're going to help minimize that because you have the right amount of muscle tissue to fight it. And then you can regain that muscle tissue if you're in the hospital or something happens to you, just by, again, knowing how to eat, and then keep your weight training, do some weight training. Resistance training is very beneficial. It helps you to keep your muscle tissue up, and you're going to eat your protein more consistently to kind of maintain it. So it all makes good sense to me. So I recommend, at the end of the day, as we get older, watch your carb intake. Again, it doesn't have to be to the zero or anything like that, but then make sure you're getting quality protein if you want to give a long, healthy lifespan. That's just my take.
Excellent. Well, Arman, as normal, it seems to be normal now. You come up with this terrific content, detailed, a lot of good stuff, and hopefully everybody appreciates and enjoys what you've had to say today, because it's really important. And the level of protein in your diet, man, it's critical to what you want to achieve in your fitness goals, your health goals. So there's a lot of good information, and I think people will like what you had to say today.
I hope so, and it should be a good takeaway for them.
All right, stand by for a quick word from NSP Nutrition, and Arman and I will be right back.
Hey, and welcome back to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Arman Eckelbarger.
Hey, I'm Frank Mills, and we just talked about how important that protein is, and we like the supplementation that NSP can offer you. We've done shows about the beef liver, the NSP aminos, and those are really two areas that could really be impact your nutrition program, your
Yeah.
supplementation strategy, help you achieve your goals. And you know, Armin, I'm a big fan of the beef liver, but you're a lot more knowledgeable. So what do you think about the aminos and the beef liver as added supplementation for protein?
Well, they're really convenient, especially if you're, needing something to kind of hold you over, or you want to make sure you're getting enough protein. You can use those resources to supplement that. So if you're, say you're only getting 2 meals in and you're training a lot and you need some additional protein, but you don't have enough time to make a meal, that would be a good thing to go with. Or if you're just trying to maintain a certain level of protein, then you can supplement in between meals with the amino acids or beef liver. And they're again, it's more of a budget thing. Beef liver is a lot more affordable than the amino acids because of the way they're created, but they're both going to work. And so if you're looking to make sure you're getting good quality, that's another way to help make sure that's happening.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good stuff. And check out nspnutrition.com. And, they've got several deals on there where you can get a good deal on being able to purchase those products.
Yeah.
So take advantage of that today. And I think it's a good thing. So anyway, let's continue on with the fan segment of the show. And
Okay.
we get all kinds of different questions, but we just happen to get one that goes good with the show today. And
okay. All right.
So this is from Melvin. Melvin doesn't say where he's from. All right. So Melvin has a question of, when you guys talked about carb cycling in one of your shows, you talked about how important protein intake is. He says, but I'm kind of confused because I'm new at this. I don't understand what carbs are good, what carbs are bad, and should I be eating just protein for 4 or 5 days and then I eat protein with vegetables or protein with pasta or protein with... So he kind of wants you to give a brief overview of what carbs should he eat
Okay.
that are good, and or should he only eat protein on the off days?
Yeah, that's a fair question. Okay. So the strategy behind carb cycling is to keep your carbohydrates low. Now, this is if you're looking to lose body fat. So if you're wanting to lean out, then that's where the low carb strategy comes in. If you're already lean and you're having success with your current eating plan, probably not a big deal. But if you want to get leaner, keep your muscle effective so you don't lose muscle, then the carb cycling is good. So you would go, and when you have carbohydrates, typically what I recommend is 30 grams or less. So the easy way to do that is just do vegetables, but they're non-starchy. So do non-starchy vegetables. So you're talking about green beans, you're talking about kale, spinach, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower. Again, look up non-starchy vegetables. So now what are starchy vegetables is rice, corn, peas, potatoes, those kind of things, because they create a lot more insulin response. And you don't want that if you want to burn fat. So you can have the vegetables. And again, you can put butter on them, grass-fed butter preferably, or olive oil, anything to get some little fats on them to help fill you up. So it's pretty easy. You just do that. You do it for a certain amount of days, and it depends what your goal is. Okay, so I can't get into all the details of carb cycling here, but you're going to go low carb for a certain amount of days. Then you'll have a carb reload day to replenish the muscles in the liver. That's when you want to use the starchy carbs. So that's when you'll have some potatoes and rice or whatever one of your favorite starchy carbs are, or several of them, some fruits and that kind of thing. You can mix those in to get those different nutrients and then help your gut microbiome. Hope that makes sense.
No, that's really good. And,
Okay.
we appreciate the questions. That's why we like the segment so much. We have Leslie in Vero Beach, Florida.
Okay.
She says, Armin, I see a lot of these commercials, shows, advertisements on to make a juice, and they're throwing in fruits and vegetables, and they're making all these different types of things as they sell
Yeah.
products or even maybe recipes or things like that.
Yeah.
Is it really good to add fruits in a daily drink, in your smoothie, things like that? She's concerned more of the sugar intake or the actual content of the sugar. What are your thoughts, Armin?
All right. Again, if you're in a situation where you're trying to manage body fat levels and stay lean, I don't recommend adding fruits into that because again, all you're doing every time you add fruit and it has fructose in it, you're going to get an insulin response, and that's going to shut off any fat burning. And the other thing is when you're doing these juices, whether it's I don't care however it's done, even if there's vegetables in it, you're taking all the fiber out. Okay, you're losing that fiber content, which can be helpful, and you're condensing it into a juice. So you want to kind of do your own research on that, whether you want to do it or not. I'm not a big fan of it, so I just rather have whole food, and then flavor it up with oil or butter or something like that. But I'm not going to probably use a juice in anything because I don't want the extra sugar. I'm older. I want to keep my insulin real manageable. So that's another thing you kind of keep in mind is your age. If you're younger and you're lean, it's probably not going to be a big deal. But if you're younger and you're trying to lose some body fat, I would absolutely not put fruits in it. I would do that as part of it. I would go through this carb cycling strategy where you would periodically have some fruit. And I typically recommend that in the evening. That way you're burning fat throughout the day. So
Gotcha.
I'm hoping that doesn't confuse too much on that one.
No, that's really good, Armin, because a lot of people think, well, like fruit's healthy, these things are healthy, and we're not saying that they're not, but you're right, the timing is everything. You really have to watch your sugar intake. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's really good. Yeah, yeah, good stuff. All right,
Okay.
Leslie, hopefully that answers your question. Next question is, sorry, I just scrolled off of my notes here. Sorry about that. Um, okay, it is from John. John has a question in regards to protein.
Okay.
Um, John really eats a lot of protein. He eats chicken, fish, uh, meat, all like that. But John's out in Seattle. So
Hmm.
he has the avenue to eat a lot of seafood, and he's a seafood guy. He eats
Okay.
salmon, scallops, shrimp, all types of fish. He's kind of curious because a lot of people have told him you eat too much seafood. Is too much seafood bad for you, Armin?
That's a good question. Okay, so the things you want to watch out for when you eat a lot of seafood is it can have heavy metals in it. So if it's a big type of fish, it's going to store more heavy metal like mercury, something along those lines. Okay, so that's something that you may want to if you're eating a lot of fish, get a heavy metals test done and make sure that you're not overloading. Because that's what happened to Tony Robbins. He was eating fish all day long with the salad and doing his nutritional strategy, feeling he's being very efficient, and he had just a mega amount of mercury in his system, which became toxic, and he got hospitalized over it. So just as one example. Now the other debate on seafood is how it could raise your cholesterol. I'm not so sure I'm sold on that debate, but that's the other thing that people throw out there as well. It's high in cholesterol. But on the flip side of it, you also, with especially shrimp and scallops, that kind of thing, you're getting a good amount of iodine from it. So there's benefits that way too that you get from having seafood. So I would say that if you're eating a lot of fish and it's heavy and it's big fish and things like that, then you may want to, depending on how many years you're doing it, you may want a heavy metals test done.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't fear it. I would just make sure that you're not overdoing it because some people, they can do that. That's what happened to Tony Robbins. He was overdoing
Mm-hmm.
it, and that's what he found out. And it was pretty bad for him. He had to do a lot of detox to get rid of those heavy metals.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, John, hopefully that helps you and answers the question. I guess it's just like everything else, moderation. But
Yeah.
we appreciate the questions. Thank you so much for all of your input and feedback for the show. We can't do it without you. And,
Yeah.
Armin, our audience is very important and we appreciate everything we do or everything that is offered to us. And man, I mean, we can't do it without the audience.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's great information, and hopefully each person gets a takeaway and they can share with other people and, benefit. Again, like anything, we don't have all the answers, but we're giving you ideas, and you can, again, do your own thing, do your own research and make your own decision. But this should help with your decision-making process. So that's the biggest purpose. So
absolutely. And if you have a question, a topic for an upcoming show, or just something you'd like to share with us, please do so. The easiest way is you can scan one of the QR codes right there on the screen, or you can comment right on our YouTube channel under the episode that you watch. And lastly, you can email direct at support@nspnutrition.com. And as always, we appreciate any content that is offered, because if you can share it with one person and it helps them, that's why we do what we do.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's it for the show today. Join Arman and I next week for a brand new episode of the NSP Nutrition Show.
Hey, thanks for checking out the NSP Show. Go to nspnutrition.com, where you can find a whole heap of resources to help you achieve stunning definition and eye-popping levels of muscularity. Don't forget, you can save 10% on your first order by using the code NSP Show at the checkout. Catch you next time.